Thank you. Moving on to 3 announcements. The first one, the Borough Council meeting for May will be held on May 21 and May 22. Second, the purpose of the March 27, 2025 executive session was to discuss legal matters. Next, we'll move on to comments, suggestions, or petitions by residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda. Okay, seeing none. Okay.
We have plenty.
So I don't really participate in these type of meetings. I listen, I observe. Oh, my name is Carolyn Roldan. I work for the parking department. I'm also a shop steward for the union, for the ASME union. So I just have one particular question. Last week, I believe, Mr. Flynn broached the subject or subjects about the longevity. I know now's not the time to talk about it, but I would like it to be something to maybe have talks about it in the future. That's my suggestion, among other things, but you know.
Could you, I'm sorry, longevity?
Longevity is something that union members get. The borough employees do also get it. Non-union members, it's sprinkled throughout the year in their paycheck. Union members, they get a check at the end of the year. So it's a lump sum. But as it is, it's being lumped into our paychecks, which takes us to a higher tax bracket. And that longevity looks like long lost. So those things. I just wanted to,
Understood.
not a troublemaker, I just wanted to broach it because Mr. Flynn had spoken on it last week, I believe it was.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Are there any other comments? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to reports and presentations. First one by the Rail Restoration Committee. Jason Levin.
All right, good evening, Council. Jason Levin, Chair of the Rail Restoration Committee. I'll be fairly brief. I think the main thing we want to do, I'm going to have Charlotte Barker from our committee come up and just run through real quick the slides that we have on the business survey, just so everyone can see that. We'll go quickly on that, but a couple points. I just want to thank Council for your support as we've been working on the lease. We had a good meeting hosted by Councilmember Flynn and Councilmember McCoy yesterday with Four States, Derek and Joe G there. We had a good conversation about the language. I think we're pretty much in agreement. Four States put basically the language that was proposed onto their letterhead. We discussed it. We all felt good about it. So I think we're in a really good place collectively as 2 organizations. And we want to work together closely going forward. I see a lot of possibilities. They're going after grants for work that they want to do, which I think is great. It's beneficial regardless. And we want to work with Representative Pielli to try to get even more funds into the line. So that's really the goal at this point, is just infrastructure investment. I don't think we're planning to have an operation in place anytime in the next year or 2. So it's really about infrastructure right now. So that's the focus. So I'd like to have Charlotte come up and we'll get the slides going and she can talk about the survey. So if we have the PowerPoint, I think it's a PowerPoint presentation. I did at one point, but I can send it again. Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
You can't do everything. Whatever. Yeah. I was there. Thank you.
Whew. Excellent. Thank you very much. So I'm Charlotte Barker. I'm a member of the Rail Restoration Committee and a resident of the borough. So our committee wanted to find out from our community about their interest in the rail service, just generally what's their interest in the rail service. So we think of our community as the residents, the businesses in the Westchester Business Improvement District, the Chester County government, the people that work there, and the people who come to get services from our county government. Educational organizations such as Westchester University, Cheney, Westtown, and the Chester County Hospital, one of our big employers, among others. So we decided to focus on the businesses in the Westchester Business Improvement District for the purposes of this story, to get the sense of what their thoughts are. So we began by seeking their opinions on how it might impact their businesses. The survey was created by input from the 9 members of the Rail Service Restoration Committee. Tim Phelps, the executive director of the Transportation Management and Association of Chester County, and Chris Paelli, our PA House of Representatives representative.
Somebody if they think somebody else might ride it someday, but ask like real hard questions. And I gave a bunch of questions last meeting that could be useful. And, you know, I think if you're going to go forward, I mean, a lot of people brought you guys together to work with the other train organizations. So you guys can talk about it and actually try to learn how, like a little bit more of the ins and outs, because I think operationally there were still some flaws in whatever plan you had. But ridership's super important, because I still question whether it's there for this construct, this minimalized construct, just that dead ends in Westchester and has no opportunity to go further away from the city, knowing that we have other options that are close by. So thank you.
Right, so I hear you saying that you're interested in more information on ridership. Ridership is not just, say, you going to Philadelphia. There's stops in between.
Yeah, I
All over
gave all the
ridership.
feedback on the 4 that were sent over from Jason. So yes, but yes, whatever, like you guys need to start asking people and really, because my question is, do you have enough ridership to sustain the cost of this train? And would you be better served by other modes of transportation, like a bus shuttle or something for the people that might want to do those short trips just to Westtown or Cheney, as you guys have said before, or something.
Okay.
It's a very expensive operation to run a train to those places.
Okay, thanks. Information on ridership and more specifics on the plan. Gotcha.
So I
Thank you.
think the beginning of your conversation was that there are 5 or 6 components of ridership, residents, the bid, et cetera. You know, you did the bid. So obviously I think what Nicole was saying, you know, so the residents and, you know, the educational institutions, the hospitals, et cetera, they're all the ones that, you know, maybe change your survey a little bit to find out some more specific
I
information.
love that idea.
Yeah.
Appreciate your
Mhm.
coming to us and all the work you're doing.
Yeah,
Some of the folks in our committee actually have spoken to the people at some of the organizations, so that'll be good for us to update that and report it back.
Yeah, but definitely, even with the bid, you got to ask people, like you can't ask business owners if someday maybe somebody that works for them are going to ride the train. You got to ask people, where do you go? Why would you need to ride the train? Are you going to ride the train? That's what I'm hoping to see, like asking real people that need to commute, like, are they going to use this construct? So, thank you.
Council?
I have one thing to add. Thank you, Mr. McCoy. That long, Mr. Metric He made me laugh there for a second. That long pause was my friend, Don Braceland. Don Braceland loves trains, loved the trains, used to walk the tracks because they weren't running, and he enjoyed trains like you wouldn't believe. The funny concept of Don Braceland, he served 15 years with us in the borough on various committees, and he was 8 years a borough councilman. And in 2014, when the concept came up to start the rail restoration committee, I think he's embodied in Nicole, because everything that he has said, Nicole has said.
I did grow up down the street from him.
Yes. I think Don's spirit is in Nicole. Don was not a religious man. Was not a religious man, but this is Holy Week. And he did tell me on his deathbed, my hand to God, make sure that train never runs. And I said,
She's leaving.
yeah. So his wife knows it. I mean, Don was it's passion right here. That's Don Braceland. I did go to mass and I did go to confession because I did tell the priest, and you're not supposed to tell confessions, that I can't uphold his wish because things move on. And yesterday we had an extremely great conversation with both parties, and everybody's in the same dugout now. And that pause and that thought the Metro gave me, I figured he's going to get even with me. So Don, I'll see you tonight. So thank you very much. And I had to share Don Braceland, and it was like Don was sitting beside me. So, but anyway, and every time I hear that thing, I think of angels. So thank you for your support and everything else. Thanks, Nicole, for bringing back Don.
Yeah, and don't discount. I mean, there's a little humor in there and discounting, but these are real logical questions that I have in my head, and I don't want the
No,
comedic portion
that was
of
exactly what
Bernie's
Don said.
thoughts.
Everything that Nicole said, it was
we-
almost like she was reading a script from Don sitting there talking to me, because that was everything he said.
So hopefully then I don't become like, if he was giving this feedback for many years as well, the same feedback, then hopefully we'll start to see some action on it, that now I'm also giving the same feedback, because that's what we're looking for, some action and understanding based off the feedback that's being given. Okay.
Thank you again.
Wonderful.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll move on to old business. Approve the minutes of the March 18 and March 19, 2025 Borough Council meeting minutes. Any comments? Okay, looks like we could move that to consent. Moving on to new business. A, motion to approve ratification of 2008 one-year lease extension between SEPTA and the Borough of Westchester, extension of the existing 15-year lease. Mr. Metric, would you like to cue this up?
Sure. This is a direction council gave me to renew this extension of the existing contract that the borough now has with SEPTA, which spans 2008 to 2023. This would be the third one-year extension that we get to exercise out of 5. And it's just really to buy us some time while we work out the other details so that we don't get to July 1st and we're out of a lease with SEPTA and the Westchester Railroad.
Thank you. I'm sure there'll be more comments under the ACT committee stuff, but any comments, your council? Okay, we'll move that to consent. Any public comments? Okay.
Hi, Lisa Kearns, West Biddle Street. Just going back to the survey. Well, first, Nicole did raise some really good points last week and has done a whole lot of research on that. So I do urge people to go back and listen to last week's Smart Growth Committee. As far as the survey goes, I might just ask if you want to look at everything you're lumping into the positive side when you do a survey. And I've done money in my life. When you ask a question like, or the response is, well, maybe, or perhaps, I don't know that that's a positive so much as a neutral. Usually that's kind of how the surveys are done. You have positive, neutral, if you have any neutral, and then negative. So maybe it might leave that survey a little, or your results, your conclusions, a little less open to criticism if maybe you looked at exactly where you were lumping the positives and the negatives.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business B, motion to approve the request from the downtown Westchester to appoint Austin Piona to the Board of Directors. Any comments, questions? John, would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, John O'Brien, Executive Director, Downtown Westchester. So the board has been dutifully searching for an additional board member. By our bylaws, requirements are that you either are a resident of the borough, you work within the business district, or you own commercial property within the business district. Mr. Piona falls under the category of owning a business. He started Mayday Coffee on North High Street in 2023 with his partner. He is 26. So one of the attractions for us is that Austin is a newer business member. So that gives us a different perspective of what it is to try and set up a business in Westchester. He has a great design eye for anybody that has visited his store. He's very committed to volunteering and to being present in his community. He's been involved with organization on a variety of different committees, has always been into charitable giving backs. So we were excited to put forth his nomination tonight for a 5-year term to the Board of Directors of the Business Improvement District.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Any comments, questions?
Good.
All right. Thank you. We'll move that to consent. Next, we have a bunch of interviews for vacancies on the Westchester Borough Boards and Commissions Committee, starting with the Civil Service Commission, alternate position. We have 2 candidates, Joseph Ovalman and Jerry Scanlon. Gentlemen, are either of you here? Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Scanlon. Just speak to you about.
Yeah, if you would just tell us a little bit about
Sure.
yourself
So-
and your interest in
Absolutely.
the board.
Always had an interest in the position. I was a civil service employee for 25 years, formerly a police officer, took an early retirement, went back for my master's degree. I'm currently working in the corporate world. While a police officer, I was an instructor at the Delaware County Police Academy, instructed several of the officers here at the borough. While I was an instructor for the police academy, I had the opportunity, the director of the police academy had a civil service testing program where he would go out to municipalities and test. I had the opportunity to proctor those tests and serve on the interview board for that testing as well. So I feel like I would be a good fit.
Appreciate it. Any questions, council?
Jerry, I got one question for you.
Yes, sir.
Here at the borough, and many other police departments, I'm sure, the department, they normally run about 12-hour shifts.
That's good.
During your testing and stuff like that, how do you determine that the candidate is up for, such a long, grueling day of work? Is there anything that you guys do to test to see how they're mentally and physically prepared?
A lot of that's done in the police academy. Unfortunately, as you go on throughout your career, it becomes a lot more challenging. You're into your 40s and 50s, closer to retirement. A 12-hour shift, a 36-hour weekend can become taxing on someone who's a lot closer to retirement. I'm not sure that's always thought of when the 12-hour shifts were implemented. However, I do feel, I know myself when I was in patrol, I was a patrol supervisor before I went into detectives. I know myself, you had a lot more time with your family. You had a lot more time off. So it was very important. You only had to work every other weekend. So I know that the officers liked it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Ovalman.
I heard about this position and I provide academic and social emotional instruction to children who have emotional and behavioral disabilities. This includes students diagnosed with mental health disorders and who have been unsuccessful in previous school placements. I have this perspective to offer regarding violent behavior in children and hope that our police officers are properly trained in first and foremost keeping themselves and each other safe, and then to recognize mental health in violent behavior, specifically among young people. It's why I thought I'd be interested in this position. It's the perspective I offer. I feel that Mr. Scanlon has far more vast experience in this line of work. So thank you for hearing me today.
Mr. Overman, would you consider the Human Relations Commission?
I will.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Thank you. Appreciate your volunteering. Okay, next, the Human Relations Commission did not have any candidates, but sounds like perhaps Mr. Overman will. Yeah. Next, we will move on to the Public Arts Committee. There are 3 positions posted, and we have 6 candidates. So we'll start alphabetically with Sarah Ali. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Is Sarah with us? Okay. Okay, thank you. Next, we'll move on to Emma Curtius. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Good.
Hi, my name is Emma Curtius. I'm currently the gallery curator at Sunset Hill Jewelers and Fine Arts Gallery in Westchester. I just recently got that position about a year ago. I just graduated from Westchester University as well, majored in fine arts. I'm very passionate about the arts. I've always been since a really young age. I am starting to slowly get into the world of art here in Westchester. I am a gallery curator as well as an artist as well. I've done multiple activities in town, as well as I'm part of the events and programs committee on BID. So I am slowly starting to try to get involved, and I'm really interested in this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any questions? All right, thank you very much for your.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Joanne Duraco.
Hi, I really thought this interview was going to be you asking me questions. So let me just tell you a little bit about myself. You have my resume, and I think you can see that I have very broad experience from being an actuary to being a writer and a law professor in between. In addition to that, I've worked with several arts groups over the years, the Philadelphia Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts, the Regional Center for the Arts here in Westchester. And 5 years ago, I moved to Westchester, and I had to pilot County Lines Magazine, which is my company, through the pandemic. We are an events, shopping, and dining magazine, and we had to make it through a time when none of that happened. Now I have some time, and I'd like to get to know my new hometown better and to give back. I have an excellent eye. I do a lot of designing for the magazine, and I have a platform that I can help promote what the PAC does. I've been a big fan of what they've done. I've loved the idea of doing a map, a flag for the borough was inspired. I helped promote the banners that you did downtown. I've gotten the murals better recognition. And in fact, in our upcoming gallery roundup article, we're going to promote a special walk to look at the murals through downtown. And I want to continue promoting what the PAC does. And I've managed to attend 2 of their meetings. And as Jimmer knows, I have lots of ideas for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Questions for me?
Yeah, any questions, council? Thank you.
Well, now I'll ask you a question. What inspired you to start up County Lines Magazine?
Well, I became an empty nester when my son went to college. My husband had been a business consultant and we wanted to do something that was fun. I was tired of teaching law students. So we wanted to buy a business. With the magazine, you get invited to go to restaurant openings, you get invited to go to the Devon Horse Show, you get to know the whole community. We cover Chester County and beyond, but Chester County is the place that I've chosen to be my home. I've lived in 18 different towns from Brunswick, Maine to Key West, florida, and I have a special affection for Westchester, and I'd like to do something now that I have the time.
I was particularly taken by all the different places you've been so far over the 5 years. Our public arts program, how does it compare to the other 18? Where do we rank?
Well, you're behind Philly, but I think there's lots of possibilities for improvement. And I think that with a town like Westchester, a vibrant, growing community that wants to attract more business and more visitors, you need to have a set aside for the PAC. You need to have some budget that they can depend on so that they're not talking about selling T-shirts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess I should be asking the public if they have any questions also. Okay, next we'll move on to Jennifer Harris.
Hi there. I'm Jen Harris, and I'm interested. Thanks so much for having me. I'm interested in participating in this PAC because in my previous life, before I moved back to Westchester, I served as a board chair for a mainline of Main Street program. And in that Main Street program, we initiated several public arts programs that really, helped to increase awareness and bring people into the community. I've really admired all of the public art that we have here in Westchester, and I think it would be just a really interesting opportunity for me to expand my marketing experience in a different way. I also am with Joanne. I didn't expect that I was going to have to stand up here and talk about myself in this way, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you for coming here. Are there any questions from council?
Well, we'll ask the same question. Like, you've lived other places, yes? How do you compare what you see with Westchester Arts to other places?
I think one of the challenges I see with some of the public art in Westchester is it's sometimes hard to access. And so part of public art brings people together. It makes people feel engaged. It drives them into conversation. And if I have to find if it's difficult to find parking to have a look at a mural, that's challenging for folks. And so, I did oversaw projects where we did all of the crosswalk art, and we recruited public artists to propose art for each of them. We bought all the paint. We had volunteers come out and we closed the streets and painted the art ourselves so that it encouraged inclusion and all sorts of people got involved. But I'm watching that community now also in Maine, and they're begging for us to continue to do that group to continue to do more. We also implemented an Adirondack chair program where we built a special style of Adirondack chair, and then each businesses sponsored them, and then public artists painted them, and then they were available for auction. So there's opportunities there to make art accessible on the streets, make it available for lots of people to participate. And it doesn't have to be a mural. It can be in all sorts of different things. So, but I think Westchester's otherwise. As somebody who was born in Westchester and has watched the city grow in the way that it has, it's a pretty exciting place to come back to. So I'm just eager to be part of it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next, Michael Hardman.
Hey everyone, Michael Hartman. I live on 142 West Bernard Street. Thanks for having me. The reason I want to do this is because I think now more than ever, as we look what's happening on a federal level to arts and humanities, our local organizations are going to have to lead, and our local communities are going to have to lead on that, whether it be advocating for funding and also then doing programming and opportunities. So I think right now more than ever, my voice and my experience in my quote unquote real life as Senator Comita's chief of staff could bring value to that. I also look to art and the work that this group does as an opportunity to address mental health and bringing the community together to bring differences, different way of thinking, to look at something and have a unique perspective as you look at it and as you experience it, and then use that to bring the community together. And as we look at a more fraction time now more than ever, I think leaning on this pack to facilitate conversations like that would be a great thing. By background, my art experience is more in the performing arts world, but I do think that could still bring a lot of value to what this organization does, and could be a whole nother level to bring to the commission. Take any questions?
Thank you.
Michael, where'd you get that suit from? And the reason why I asked, because I got to get a new one. So I just wanted to know.
Probably Macy's.
Shop local.
Yeah, sorry. Good.
Any other questions?
Well, we'll ask the same question. You've done extensive, work in Cape May, and so how do you compare, between Westchester and Cape May or other towns that you've visited with art?
Yeah, so I think it is a good question. I started the Ocean City Theater Company, Ocean City, New Jersey, going on 18 seasons this year, which is crazy because I'm only 21. But one thing I see in Westchester that I wish Ocean City has is a much better appreciation of art in whatever capacity that it is. And I do think borough residents and people come to Westchester want to experience the charm. They want to look around and see art. They want to look at a window, a storefront window that looks appealing and catches your eye. So I just think in general, Westchester has a level of appreciation woven through the community that I wish other places I currently work in and have been has at its core.
Now I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
You said Ocean City. I can't afford Ocean City. I have to go to Cape May. Sorry. But how do you keep the graffiti off of all of those traffic signal boxes that you've painted that make them look like seashores town?
Oh, goodness.
Is it respect, or how do you keep them clean? See, I was paying attention.
Okay. So, and I should say part of my career before working for the senator was I was the director of special events and public relations for Ocean City, New Jersey. So I oversaw like 120 events a year, and many of them involved the arts. So a lot of it is a sense of respect. A lot of it is we have a very diligent police force. Not saying the police force here is not diligent, but they don't deal with the level of situations that Westchester police deal with. In the summer, there's definitely an uptick in people around, but I do think a lot of it is just at the heart of the community down there of respect and watching it, watching those projects come to be. It started for the locals. A lot of that came from who we had as our art teacher in school down there. So there's a level of appreciation and understanding of who's done the work too.
I appreciate it because I'm the guy who takes the graffiti off around here.
I know.
And
seen your emails.
Well, a little background. In 1984, Wilson Good came to the paint manufacturer I was working for, MAB Paint Company in Philadelphia. And he said, we need to clean up Philadelphia. So back then, all we knew to do was paint over everything. So Tim Spence and I got a lot of money to go to each block in the city and get block captains to start painting over all the graffiti. As time progressed, the Murrah Arts program came out of the Anti-Graffiti Network, and it's a beautiful thing in Philadelphia now. And I would put any of my murals up against, Bobby Rydell or, Mike Howard or any of those guys out in Philly. I think our murals here are very, very good. Not to say, Mr. Rocco, you're wrong, but I like what we have here.
Agreed.
But I just had to find out who was in charge of painting up all those boxes that really look nice and they're inviting. And I guess it's out of mutual respect. The artists out of mutual respect, they don't tag them. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Sahara Widmeyer. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Hi, I'm Sahara Whitmire. I'm a Westchester local. I was born and raised here. My dad works for the police department and is involved in the fire service. I recently graduated from Westchester as a fine arts major. I am currently an art teacher at a local elementary school. And I've just been really passionate about the accessibility of art. And I think Westchester does a really good job with the murals and all of the public art. And I think that people don't appreciate it as much because they don't know it's there necessarily. So I think having more people being able to talk about the art and promote it and to have ways to connect with the fine arts department at Westchester would be a lovely connection because there are lots of great artists that are coming out that don't necessarily know that there are public art councils and committees in the borough and have access to these things. So I think having maybe someone who's involved and has been around that side of the community, that would be a good connection. And I think the council does a great job at choosing great artists and having lots of communication with people around. And I think they do a good work within residents of promoting that. But I think there'd be good ways to commit or communicate with more people.
Thank you. So do you have a favorite piece of Westchester public art?
So I know the artist that did the piece that's down by it's like the housing one, the Friends Association, yes. So I know that artist, so that one has a special place in my heart. So I like that one a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Council, any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next, we will move on to the Planning Commission.
Mr. McCoy,
Yes.
a point of order. Do we have to have, Mr. Domenico, is there a definite cutoff for the people that have to, the number of people in the mural arts? Is there a definite number that we can't have? Minimum of 7. Okay.
Because
No.
we have lots of good candidates.
Well, you
We have
have 5 great
good
people that can actually, contribute. That's why, point of order, that's why I was making.
If Jimmer's here, I don't see him. Would you accept more candidates than 7? All right, thank you. Next, we will move on to the Planning Commission. We have 1 vacancy and we have 2 candidates. Alex Katz, start with you.
Thanks for having me. Alex Katz. I live in the borough here. I own a small business, healthcare business supporting seniors in a neighboring county with ambitions to hopefully bring the business here to Chester County as well. But I really just want to share a little bit of background, kind of my journey living here in the borough, just as an introduction. But I've lived here almost 15 years now. I came to Westchester University actually to be a student athlete, where I met my wife. I fell in love with my wife, fell in love with this school, fell in love with this town. And I think this town just has so much to offer. I know the school having such a large presence here can be polarizing at times in different ways. And I think through my journey of going to school here, being a student renter, then being a young professional renter, and then eventually buying and remodeling a home here in the 2nd Ward where I live today with my wife and my son. It's given me a special appreciation for all the diverse population that this community really serves. And, while attending and living in Ward 2, I've seen a lot of changes throughout the years, coming to a lot of the different developments that are coming in and the ways that we're supporting the growth that's happening here. And I attended the meeting for the Planning Commission last month, and I was really inspired by the group. I think the group is incredibly impressive, but they're really trying to preserve all of those things that make this town so attractive, the historic character of it, while also fostering healthy growth. And so I really want to get involved and be a part of that to hopefully represent perhaps an underrepresented demographic, a young professional with a family with aspirations to continue to live here in the borough, in Ward 2 as well, and support kind of their initiatives to protect the character of this town with a lot of the new developments and initiatives coming in.
Thank you. Council?
What do you know about zoning and planning code?
I'll be the first to admit, and I told Jim this right from the jump. I said, and that was one of the things, one of my biggest takeaways from the group. You know, they're filled with engineers and architects. That's not my forte. I know there's a former school teacher on the board as well, on the commission as well. That's not the value I think I bring to that commission. I think I hopefully can advocate in other ways for folks that I represent in my ward and my age population and young families who hope to still be able to afford to move into this community.
I appreciate you went to some planning commission meetings to see what they do. Do you have any surprises during the process?
Lots of different thoughts and folks that came forth and shared on a wide variety of topics. I think there's certainly some loud voices and folks that are very passionate about certain specific topics. I welcomed all of the thoughts. I appreciated them, but I'm not sure I answered your question directly, but
No, it was great. Thank you.
It was
Appreciate it.
eye-opening to say the least, but only encouraged me more to want to get involved and help advocate for, I think, what the board's already on the correct trajectory to do.
Great. Thank you.
One. Are you prepared to stand up for what you believe in with that commission? Because I think it's a difficult position, and I very much value what you're trying to bring, but I want to make sure you're ready and willing to.
Yeah, I talked to Jim about that, and I think perhaps that was what Councilmember McCoy was getting at. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
I think our voice needs to be heard. Thanks for asking that question.
Alex, as you went to the planning commission meeting, and that's not your forte, your construction and stuff like that, engineering, there's a very large vocabulary you're going to have to learn to, I'm not saying you can't do it, but you're going to have to work it, because you're going to hear words that don't make any sense to you at all, like setback and height restrictions and density and all that kind of stuff that tie into one another. You heard of it at the meeting.
Absolutely.
And it was like, okay, there's a whole world that I didn't even know existed. So you're young, go for it. And I'll support you all the way.
Far too much time at work the next day Googling, but
write down the words.
Been on a team my whole life, and that supporting cast there, I think, is a phenomenal group that has already been elected to support that. So thanks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mr. Obelman.
Alex sounds like an amazing candidate for that position. I'm looking to drum up participation in the Veterans Day Parade, upcoming Veterans Day Parade in November. And if anyone has a lead on military vehicles, I'd like you to reach out to me, anybody in the audience.
Do you know Tony Polito?
Who?
Tony Polito.
I'll write his name down.
Yeah, email me.
Thank you.
Yes.
And
so you're interested in the planning commission, or would you at the human relations committee sound more appealing?
More affordable housing for middle income residents, and that would be the reason I'd want to be on that committee. So,
questions, council? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to the tree commission. We have 4 candidates and 2 vacancies, starting with Jake Camarado.
Hello, my name is Jake Camerata. I'm currently a junior at Delaware Valley University. I'm majoring in landscape architecture with a minor in horticulture. So I actually found out about this position through Instagram, through DUBC Urban Forests. I think he's part of the Mars Arboretum Urban Forestry Unit. And I was just interested in this position because Westchester has a great deal of trees on the PA Big Trees listing, and I'm a big proponent of preserving older trees because they are a huge part of the canopy and they contribute a lot to sequestering carbon and things like that. So I worked at Haverford College Arboretum last summer as a summer intern, and this upcoming summer I will be at Scott Arboretum at Swarthmore College. And I'm very interested in urban canopy in general and preserving all of that, as well as expanding to try to help mitigate urban heat island effects and things of that sort. And I'm just really interested in the position because of the history of Westchester's tree canopy, as well as the opportunities it presents in the future for me. And me and my roommate actually are working to reinvigorate the Delaware Valley University Arboretum, which was the Henry Schmieder Arboretum, because that has kind of fallen by the wayside over the past couple of years because they lost funding and they lost their database. So my roommate and I, he's actually about to go to graduate school to become a director or curator of an arboretum. And we have been attempting this year to reinvigorate that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Council, any questions?
What's your favorite tree? May I ask everyone this?
It's a good question. I have a lot of trees that I really like. I'd probably say swamp white oaks, just because I really like their leaf shape and their bark texture. And also, Haverford College has a massive one that I really liked. They actually call it the incarcerated oak because they put a fence around it to preserve its root system.
Thank you. How about you? But I love the Christmas tree because I get stuff under it. So, so Christmas tree is my favorite one.
Meanwhile, he's the Grinch himself.
Yeah. I do have a question.
Yes.
I mean, you definitely, from an experience, you've got great experience. But you live in Warminster right now?
Yes.
So there are meetings, once a month, right? And I don't know if there's any ad hoc. Just from a getting here perspective on, for these meetings, do you have any concerns about challenges knowing that you're in school and I don't know what,
No, I don't have any concerns getting here. It shouldn't be an issue for once a month now.
All right, one other question I had too. All right, so I know you were asked your favorite tree, and I know you were, we heard about his favorite tree. So looking around at Westchester's trees, I mean, what do you see? What could you see for improvement, let's say? Let's ask that.
There's already a lot of native, so that's a good thing, especially with the larger trees. But I think there could be a movement away from like traditional non-native street trees, such as like the ginkgos and things like that, and more towards the more native things, such as like the oaks or the honey locust. As there are quite a few existing honey locust, but I think there could be more of a move away from the non-native trees as well.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jen Harris.
Again, my preference for the commissions is obviously for the Public Art Commission. I was encouraged to potentially add my name to this list just in case there was an abundance of interest. And I am also interested in the Tree Commission. Just watching the conversation on social media about what's happening to the trees in town has been really eye-opening since I returned to the community. And I think, my favorite tree is a native magnolia. But I also think how the community, how the city communicates how and when trees are going to be cut down is kind of important. And I'm a communications person in my professional life. And I think sometimes there's an outcry about why trees disappear and there's no answer to that or a future plan that people know about so that they can feel like there's something to talk about, something to put their hands on. So that's why I'm interested in it. I think the trees are, obviously all of the things that Jake talked about. He's obviously an expert. I am not. So do you have any questions?
I think one from Mr.
Said the magnolia.
Gotcha.
I wrote it down.
Which one? Sweet magnolia, sweet bay, or?
Sugar magnolia.
Which one's native?
Not those big pink ones. Those big pink ones are not native. Anything else? Thanks so much.
Mr. Travis.
Yeah,
Excuse me, Jen. Sorry, I think we have one more question here.
Not even a question. It's more like an acknowledgement. And I appreciate you bringing up the fact that we had, when I moved here in 2006, since then, half of our old legacy population, our ancient trees are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Half. And it is a huge difference to just the general skyline of in the character and the fabric of the town. So I agree with you. I think that people hear the chainsaws, they see what's happening, and they don't know why. And I think it's a huge gap, and it's something that we need to address regardless of who's on this tree commission. The tree commission should be the first to know and be able to communicate what's going on. And I think you identified something that's really important. I appreciate you bringing it up.
Yeah, I think what happened around the Burger King property really was like the rage and like upset about that was just really interesting to watch. And obviously that's a private property, but that made people feel a way. And as a result, they're paying way more attention. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Deborah Mack.
Hi, my name is Deborah Mack, and I'll share a little bit about myself. I'm originally from Connecticut, and my family and I, we moved here in 2004 due to my husband's job opportunity. And my background is that I was a court mediator for 20 years for the state of Connecticut in the Judicial Department. And once we moved here, I decided not to get back into the court system, and I became an entrepreneur. And I started a pickup and delivery dry cleaning service from scratch. And then I built it out to a drop store, and then a drop store with a organic dry cleaning plant. So it was pretty big. And I had no life. So then I ended up selling it. And then I decided to go back to school to pursue my passion, which was fashion. And I went to Drexel for 1 year. Then I decided to transfer over to Moore College in Arts for 2 semesters, just to try to find out how does fashion in the industry, real industry works. And because I always loved the show, and since I've been a kid. So what ended up happening, I have 4 adult kids now and 2 grands and 1 on the way. And I decided that, you know what, I'm too old to leave school with a big tuition when I have these kids in college. So I decided to build a curriculum around myself, which was pretty much me traveling to New York on the weekends, taking classes there, going to Harlem, taking a tailoring class, going online. And until I got to the point where I said, okay, I can figure this thing out. I do have a small boutique right here on North Church Street. And it's a custom boutique, and it's named Deborah Ann Mack. And I service women that's looking for something different that's gonna fit their body. However, I did have a gentleman come in who requested a coat, and it came out really nice. So I usually cater to the women, but now the men are starting to come around a little bit, which is good. It's a very small space, but I'm in the process of moving a couple doors over next to Kuma. And so you're probably thinking, well, you do all that, why tree commission? Well, initially I wanted to get on the zoning commission, but then I found out that you have to be a resident in the borough. I'm like, oh, so then it was said, well, how about the tree commission? I'm like, okay, you know what? It's okay, because honestly, my husband calls me a tree hugger. I love trees. I really do. And we're planning a lot. We just moved from the other end of Westchester by Boot Road up towards in Birmingham. And there, a lot of the trees were really dead. I mean, like holes in them. So we took on a lot of trees, but then we put in a lot of trees as well to try to replace what we had to remove. But the reason I said, okay, I will consider, go for being on the committee for the tree is because when I ride around Westchester, I'm up Creek Road, I'm down New Street, there are a lot of dead trees that really concern me that just hang over, and they're marked to be taken down. And I don't know why so long before they can come out to remove these trees, but I did make a phone call like last month. It was one tree that I go down Creek Road to go to my house all the time, and it was just like hanging there, minutes of it just falling over. And someone did come out right away because it was a serious situation to take it down. But I see a lot of the trees that are just cut, left by the side, hanging over. Look like if a mudslide came, that would be it. There's so much of it. And then not only that, if I'm going down Britain Bridge Road, sometimes you have the bamboo that's coming out. They hang, you got to go around the other side of the road, which is dangerous. Cars are coming at you. Or you're driving, trying to get over, and then the bushes that are hanging swipe your car, and that's leaving a mark. So that would be why I would be really interested in being on a tree commission. But I don't know what it entails. So I just think it would be interesting to find out. And you know what? I love Westchester. And if I can make a difference in this being on a tree commission, sure.
Thank you. Council, any questions?
Favorite tree?
My favorite tree, I have a few of them. I like the white pine. I like the magnolias. I like the southern magnolias, which I just put in the ground. I like the saucer magnolias. And I also love the mimosa, chocolate mimosa. Pardon me?
The drink or the tree? So do I around 5 o'clock. Yeah. The mimosa.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say you do contribute to the art of Westchester as well with your store windows. I remember walking past, it was either last week or the other week, and I'm like, that's really nice. So I think it was a coat you had in. It was really beautiful. So thanks for bringing the art to Westchester.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And next we have Anna Seacrest.
Last but not least, how is everybody? So my name's Anna Seacrest. I've been a borough resident for the last 12 years. Currently, I am a public school teacher in Westchester School District. But my environmental work has sort of been based out of the Westchester Green Team since about 2022. I've been on the Living Landscapes Committee, and I've helped establish some of the pollinator gardens that you've seen around the borough at the Historical Society and a couple of the private businesses. I was also the leader of the Green Wagon you saw popping up around the borough last spring, trying to put word out about planting native plants in your landscapes and the whole idea of homegrown national park. My whole interest in all of this started I think it was like 2021, Doug Tallamy came to speak at Westchester University. And he talked the importance of planting native trees in our keystone plants and bringing the caterpillars back into our landscapes to help the birds and give them the food. And I didn't know all that. I liked gardening, but I didn't have a vision for it. So that really kind of helped me see where things need to go in my own private landscaping and got me involved with the Green Team. The things that I think I bring to the table, not being a tree expert would be one of them. However, I bring a lot of educational experience in terms of the education piece. How are we going to, if we're doing all of this work, how are we going to let the public know about it? A few of the things that I've noticed on the Tree Commission website, for example, so much information, but not user friendly. So how do we get that idea of planting natives, pruning trees, instead of opening a 25-page PDF? How do we make that more user friendly for the public? Let's see what else I need to get to. Like I said, I helped volunteers set up the Green Wagon. I know how to get my hands dirty and show up and be there. And really one of the reasons why I'm here is one of the Tree Commission members said, I think you'd be a good fit for this. So I'm here putting myself out there for it. And my favorite tree is the Eastern Redbud because that was kind of the first tree that got me into this. When I was an undergraduate at Westchester University, you had to do a capstone project for the Honors College. And I made a wish tree on campus where people came. It was kind of a art installation, but it kind of, as things go and word gets out, a professor came up to me and said, well, hey, let's make sure it's a native tree and let's make sure that we kind of bring that element into it. So that whenever I see an Eastern red bud, it always reminds me of that project and kind of where all this started for me.
So hopefully you've seen the red buds in bloom on at Marshall Square Park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah, I live right over here, so
Oh,
I
okay,
like to go to
great.
Marshall Square
Yeah.
Park a lot. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Doug Talamy has a new book I just got. I haven't started reading it yet.
What's that?
He has a new book.
Yes,
How
I
Can
know.
Help?
I know. Well, as he says, we should be planting oak trees yesterday. So tree commission will help with that.
Questions?
Any other questions?
Council?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, do we want to think about these candidates and discuss tomorrow evening? To all the candidates, thank you very much for joining us tonight and volunteering to help the community. We really appreciate it. We'll have discussion tomorrow night and hopefully we can find out, I guess Jimmer said he's open to additional candidates. I'd like to hear from the tree commission if they would also consider more than the two that are up. Gotcha. Right, got it. Okay, well, thanks again. I appreciate it. We will move on to the ACT Committee business.
Okay, good evening. First order of business from the ACT Committee last week and on tonight's work session is the motion to direct the solicitor to include language in the lease between SEPTA and Westchester Borough to include language on the use for the Westchester branch to include commuter service as well as use by the Westchester Railroad. So we discussed this in committee. We had a lot of public comment. Westchester Railroad was here. They're here tonight again. Sheila Vaccaro encouraged both Westchester Railroad and our Westchester Rail Restoration Committee to communicate with each other, which happened. There was a meeting yesterday I could not attend, unfortunately, but many parties, including Chris Pielli, were there. President McCoy was there. And we agreed on some language that I think makes everyone comfortable that we would like to proceed with. So this item is a motion to direct the solicitor to include the intent to allow approved third-party commuter service, to put language in the lease to allow that to happen. I will just mention also that we're very, very far away. As Jason Levin mentioned, the focus right now is infrastructure, not rail service. We have to get, in order for that to happen, a lot has to happen in advance. So this is not a promise in any way. This is basically just putting in an option into a lease. So the committee voted 3-0 on this one.
Okay, I just want to, recognize Bernie for setting up that meeting between the parties yesterday. And Mr. Metric, I don't know if you want to give any additional information about, what we're looking at.
The section we're talking about in the memo dated April 14th deals with lease termination clause language, which clarifies that in the event that SEPTA terminates this lease, that it can be can go to a commuter rail service, and there's additional language in there. I won't repeat it all. It's in the attachment that we were showing before. So this would allow commuter rail service at that moment of termination, which differs a little bit from what we talked about last week. I just want to be clear with the ACT Committee, correct?
That's correct. But
okay,
as long as all parties are satisfied with where this language exists, what it is, the words that are said, it still leaves room for the option for Westchester to restore rail.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think we're comfortable with it at this point.
Okay. I know that we were contacted, I was contacted and the borough solicitor was contacted by SEPTA and they would, this language that I'm seeing in this memo dated April 14th seems doable with SEPTA. I can't speak for SEPTA, but that I'm basing that statement upon a communication I had with them. Was it the end of last week? My concept of space time is really interrupted right now. So, but there is a phrase that's in that communication from SEPTA that I would like council to consider and the parties that are in the room to consider. And it's a simple phrase, don't worry. It just says in compliance with all applicable federal, state laws, rules, and regulations. So they put that in bold when they sent that email to us. So I think if we can add that into this proposed addition to section 3.2, that would work. And I'm curious what the rest of council has to say, but maybe it might be really helpful if when tomorrow we hopefully take a vote on this, you have a version of the document that shows exactly what we're talking about. One doc to kind of rule them all.
So that would be my preference. I'd mentioned that previously when we had discussions about this. It's something, one place we can all look at sort of from a standard perspective that we can react to. I would prefer that.
So would we be directing Ms. Camp to go back and add that language and look at it again next month in the May committee? Or is this something we would do tomorrow and vote on?
I think if we get a draft done and posted and council has it, unless Tom
I'm
objects to
with that.
this, we can probably take a vote on this tomorrow.
Okay, let's do that.
Why we couldn't do that by tomorrow.
Great, thank you. Comments, questions?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding right now is that those two paragraphs are the adjustment. Either it's kind of partially already in the lease and it's some of the wording's adjusted. And I think the second paragraph maybe is a new paragraph, but you're just saying add that extra sentence at probably the end of the first paragraph that we're seeing up there. So it seems like a pretty easy adjustment to get all of that in one space. And this is, and of what this is the only modification to the lease that we all almost approved last month or something, right? Yeah, okay. And everybody liked it and signed off on it. There's like 3 signatures on that page and yeah.
Any other questions, comments?
Procedurally, I would just say we'll put this on discussion for tomorrow night and we'll have the document prepared and posted.
Okay. Public comments or questions?
Good evening, council. Derek Slifer here, Operations Manager, Westchester Railroad 4 States Railway Service. I'm going to keep this brief and I have to read off my card because a lot's been going on. We want to be respectful of your time. Last week we attended the ACT committee meeting, and as everyone knows, things got a little heated. And we want to thank 3 members of council for listening to all these volunteers behind me. It's something we're passionate about. There's a few words I can use to describe what occurred from our end. Frustration, passion, devotion. When you mix these ingredients together, you are certain to get a reaction. Sometimes positive, sometimes negative, sometimes a little over the top. The only analogy I can use for our situation is an Easter egg. Forgive me, I spent all weekend on trains with the Easter Bunny for our successful opening weekend of our 28th year. I thought of this while operating our train, running over tens of thousands of railroad ties put in by volunteers. Thinking of the blood, sweat, tears, and millions of dollars the Westchester Railroad has invested to make this railroad a reality. It's something that only our volunteers would truly understand. The Westchester line is like our Easter egg. It's a hidden gem. We're like the goose that's been sitting on the egg for all these years. We take care of that egg. We respect that egg. We know it's fragile. We know it's unique. We absolutely know that it's expensive to take care of. We protect that egg as if it was our own. When someone gets too close to the nest, what are we expected to do? Just like Mother Goose, we defend that egg. It doesn't matter how big or small the opponent is, we're going to make noise and try to steer that potential threat away. We love trains, and we're avid commuter rail supporters. We just happen to disagree with the methods suggested by the committee to get there. However, we realize this committee is going to be part of the picture, whether we're ready for it or not. We're tired of fighting. We're tired of the back and forth. Our only goal at this moment in time is getting the long-term lease so we can continue to do what we do for the community. All we want is language that reflects what we are, a tourist railroad. No more, no less. I want to sincerely thank Mr. Flynn for arranging a stakeholder meeting yesterday between him, Mr. McCoy, the Rail Restoration Committee Chair, Mr. Levin, Representative Pielli, and us. We discussed many things in detail, and upon leaving the meeting, everyone, for the first time, seemed to be on the same page. We suggested what the final language should be for the lease and sublease, and as a group agreed upon it. This is a win for everyone. Let's get this thing off to SEPTA. In closing, I also want to mention that I watched the video of Smart Growth from last Wednesday when the railroad was discussed. Ms. Simone, Ms. Dorsey, and Mr. Flynn had an insightful and spot-on analysis of this current situation. Ms. Simone said it best, it's making us bonkers. Know that we share your feelings. Let's get this finished so we can move on to what we do best, and that's run a railroad. Maybe someday that egg will hatch and Westchester will get its commuter train back, but I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. Public transportation in this area now more than ever has much bigger problems than our little piece of railroad. In a few months, we will begin a $200,000 track rehabilitation project that we've been planning for a few years, with part of the funding coming from the Pennsylvania Multimodal Transportation Fund matching grant. The large remainder of the funding comes directly from the Westchester Railroad generated from ticket sales. I say this every time I come to the podium, but we have to continuously reiterate. Projects like these, along with all of our other operations to help preserve the railroad line, do not cost the borough or SEPTA one single dime. It ensures that someday, maybe when the planets all align, commuter trains might come back to Westchester. But until then, let us continue to keep that egg warm. Thank you very much for your support, and I welcome any questions or comments that you have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I knew when Ms. Vaccaro down there got animated, we had a problem. Because as you look, she smiles, bubblegum, balloons, happiness, wants a party, wants everything to go. When I teased her. I said, "You got your mommy voice." And what happened was,
voice.
yeah, and we all know what mom's voice sounds like because we all have one. And I said, you know what? Something has to be done. And what stuck in my mind is what Jose said. And I told you guys that. Jose said, we are your best effort to make this thing work because we know how to run trains. And that stuck with me. And thank you, Jose, for getting up and doing that and speaking up for the team. I also want to take a minute and tell everybody that when we started the meeting, everybody sat in their four corners. It was almost like a UFA, wrestling match. It was so much tension in the room. Joe wouldn't even eat until it was over.
Neither did I.
And then he ate.
The food was good, though.
Then he ate. But the most important thing that happened that day was everybody listened to one another and everybody realized that they're there for a common goal. As you mentioned, you're sitting on the egg right now, and the dream is commuter rail somewhere. And we've had conversations with the Rail Restoration Committee, and they know moving forward with their tasks to do to get to that commuter. We had no idea how much time, money, and expertise it would take to run a commuter rail. Derek took the time to explain it to us, and it blew all of our minds. We thought you just go buy a train and put it on the tracks, and there you go. I
wish it were that easy.
It doesn't work that way. So I think Jason and I were sitting there saying, well, we got a lot more work to do here. And we've had good conversations. I'm glad when everyone left the room that they have agreed. If either one of them have a question, they will contact each other and sort it out and come up with the answers. And that was the main thing of the event. I thank you guys for coming and doing that.
Thank you very much.
Sheila,
I just
thank
wanted
you.
to say thank you too. Thank you so much for working with each other, because what matters is the community that we're a part of. And I know that you guys care about the community. Just keep caring. That's it. That's all I ask.
We do. We want to make the Westchester proud, so try.
Thank you very
everyone.
much. Appreciate it.
Lisa Kearns, West Biddle Street. Just a clarification, we're talking the 15-year lease.
Correct.
Or the 1 year, 15.
15. Well, there's the one, it was approved tonight to get us to the next step because we had a deadline.
Right. Okay.
So that was approved, and now we'll work on getting SEPTA to approve this amendment.
Got it. So when would this one go into effect?
Well, when SEPTA approves it, so.
So they don't have to
that
wait
could be-
another year. It's gonna, or they do.
Well, it surely should not be that long, but I'm not gonna say.
But
with SEPTA.
it's not like
The
we're
intent
locked
is
into
for
the
this
1
to be
year.
a 15-year.
Thank you.
And get that amended shortly. Thank you.
Tyler Haney, Westchester Railroad Heritage Association, and I just want to both expand on what Derek said and respond to what Ms. Vaquero said, that as far as being part of the community, we've been operating trains here for over 25 years. We've been in the borough, but we want to not just exist here, but also make more of a presence here. So Derek and I were having a conversation yesterday, and even once this 15-year extension is finalized, we don't want to just disappear, and kind of go back off to, playing with trains and not talking with anybody. So we're going to be stepping up our engagement with council and with the borough politics. I want to say, as part of hopefully getting this 15-year extension, one of the investments we want to make, we've been talking about wanting to make investments. And one of them is with our station property on East Market Street. We want to put in some improvements to the property there, undergo some beautification, especially with the plans to redevelop the Rubenstein's property with the apartments there. We want to make our property look as nice as that building is going to look. So we want to, we'll be in touch with council, with the various committees and parties involved to discuss some of our ideas for that, and looking forward to more collaboration in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe talk to the Public Arts Commission.
Tree Commission. And the green team. Talk to the green.
Okay, are there any other comments from the public? All right. Thank you very much. We will move on.
Yes.
We can put that on consent, by the way. We're good for that. All right.
Or do we need to do consent, or do we have to do discussion so they add the extra
Well,
sentence?
for discussion. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Number 2.
Yes, next item of business, D2. Motion to direct solicitor to draft an amendment to the language in the Borough Codes, Chapter 54, Chapter 72, Chapter 82. This is the electrical, mechanical, plumbing, respectively, related to license requirements. We were digging into the ICC code requirements based on another conversation. Mr. McCoy pointed out maybe a logical fallacy within our code itself, where we were referring to the license requirement coming from the ICC. That's actually not correct. The license is issued by the borough for each of these ordinances. And what we would like to see instead of the ICC issuing the license is language that's similar to, does not have to be verbatim, but something as suggested in this actual item, where it says such person must present proof that he or she was licensed by the borough prior to the adoption of the chapter, which included mention of the ICC, or has successfully passed an examination by the ICC or International Code Council to perform such work. So we have a licensing entity, which is the borough, and then the International Code Council, which issues exams, which contractors have to pass to be certified to be able to operate in the borough. So those two things, the language basically specifies which entity is licensed and which is certification. So this was a 3-0, so it took me a little while to get through that. This is a 3-0 recommendation from committee to council to consider putting on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Any public questions or comments? Okay, we'll move that to consent, please. Number 3.
Next item is a motion to approve the Borough Council Chambers audio microphone capital project. This is a capital project that's deemed necessary because the equipment that we have in the room currently is obsolete and it's difficult to obtain parts. So we need to replace. There's potential reuse for this or potential, there may be some salvage that can be discussed later, but the item here to be discussed tonight is to approve a capital project to upgrade the equipment. This was a 3-0 recommendation for council to consider on the consent agenda.
Sounds like a good plan. Any questions or comments? Any public questions or comments? All right, we'll move that to consent, please. Moving on to the parking committee.
The first is a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding to allow the use of 3 parking spaces at the Chestnut Street garage by the Westchester bid. This was a 3-0 recommendation.
Comments or questions? Public comments? Okay, move that to consent, please.
Next is a motion to approve the resolution to install a ceremonial street sign commemorating Stan Zukin. This was also a 3-0 recommendation.
Comments or questions? Public comments? Okay, we'll move this to consent, please.
Third is a motion to allow the use of the Chestnut Street parking garage top level and sponsorship for Up on the Roof, September 13th, 2025, downtown Westchester. Recommendation 3-0.
Thank you. Comments, questions? Public comments or questions? Okay, we'll move that to consent.
Fourth is a motion to approve free parking on First Friday, May 2nd to begin at 4 p.m. for the gallery walk from Westchester, downtown Westchester. Recommendation 3-0.
Thank you. Comments, questions? Public comment?
Darrell Cook, South Walnut Street. That will be street parking only, not the garages?
I believe that to be the case. Yes. Yep. Thank you for your question. Any others? We'll move that to consent, please.
Fifth is a motion to approve the resolution for handicap parking spaces at 527 East Bernard, 707 East Bernard, Hoops Park, and removing 508 East Minor Street. Also recommendation 3-0.
Okay, any comments or questions? Public comments or questions? Thank you. We'll move to consent. Public Works Committee.
Thank you very much. Public Works Committee, a motion to approve revisions to the ordinance amendment, Chapter 62, garbage, rubbish, and refuse, and to schedule a public hearing on May 22nd, 2025.
Any questions or comments?
So everyone knows this is Ann Carroll approved.
Okay.
Thank you, Ann Carroll. We appreciate all your help. Number two, we have to pick the date for the
Any other public comments or questions on that? All right. Move
All
that
right,
to
number
consent,
two.
please.
Move to approve County Historical Society banners and sign proposals to discuss with the Chester County Historical Society. It was a 3-0.
Comments or questions? Public comments? All right, we'll move that to consent.
Motion to award a 2025 High Street parking lot bid. No, I missed it. Go back. Motion to award a 2025 paving project bid to Glasgow Incorporated.
Comments or questions?
This is the 65,000 better than what we were expecting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these are the people that did our stuff last year, and a lot of alleys are going to get done this year as well. Thanks to Mr. Edwards, and Mr. Anderson.
Any public comment? All right, move that to consent, please.
All right. Number 4, motion to award a 2025 High Street parking lot paving bid to John Duraco, general contractor. This is the lot right next to Methodist Church.
Questions or comments? Public comments, questions? All right, move that to consent, please.
All right, the last one, number 5, motion to approve a new scoreboard installation at Farley Field by the Adult Baseball League. And the owner of the scoreboard will be the borough once it's installed.
Questions?
Oh.
Comments? Public comment or question? All right, we'll move that to consent. Move on to finance and revenue.
Item G1, motion to approve a grant resolution to DCED Small Water and Sewer Grant Program for the Goose Creek Sanitary Sewer Conveyance Improvements, Phase 2 of the project. That was approved 3-0.
Hopefully that we will get that grant. Any comments or questions? Any public comments or questions? Move to consent.
Item 2, motion to approve budget modification number 3 for winter maintenance. 3-0.
Comments or questions? Public comments? All right, move that to consent.
Item 3, motion to approve the transfer of $44,198.58 from the general fund to the liquid fuels fund to reimburse for 2024 salt purchases. And that was a committee recommendation 3-0.
I have one question for Mr. Edwards or Mr. Metric. Since we couldn't use the 44 for the salt, does that go back into the pot? And could we use that for paving, or do we just lose that?
Unspent liquid fuels dollars, once liquid fuel dollars are distributed to the boroughs, they're the boroughs, but they can only be used for liquid fuels approved purposes.
So it's not like we're losing this 44. We can put it to other use.
I'm expecting we're going to have a surplus at the end of the year in liquid fuels because of this and that cost savings for the project that we were just talking about.
Can we use that to do more paving?
We'd have to put out another bid and everything, but I think, well, I'll tell you just one thought I've had. Okay. And that is with this budget modification, we usually put $300,000 for paving in liquid fuels and $100,000 from general fund. Next year, maybe we can do everything from liquid fuels because we're going to have this surplus and you won't have to use the $100,000 in the general fund. That's just a thought.
So the liquid fuels rolls over
It
to
does.
the next year. Okay, gotcha.
I like that idea, Mr. Edwards.
Like that.
So how do we get allocated the liquid fuels again? Is it do we get dinged for not using the budget or, like certain?
No, we're preventing getting dinged. So, yeah, so each year, based on the miles of roads that we have out there, we get a certain amount of money from the gas tax, I believe. And so it's just pretty much routine. That number may change a little bit from year to year, but it's somewhat routine.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Public comment or questions? We'll move that to consent.
Item 4, motion to approve purchasing requests. Items A through K was a 3-0 decision.
Any questions, comments? Public comments? All right, move that to consent, please. Move on to public safety. Ms. Dorsey is not here. Would you like to take that on? Thank you.
All right. Motion to direct borough staff to investigate intersection safety with the traffic engineer relative to the intersection at Bradford Avenue and West Gay Street. And this is, we've been hearing about this for the past couple of meetings and 3-0.
Comments or questions? Public comments or questions? All
Just want to
right.
add some, the reason we're doing this is just to make sure that the staff can get the consent of council when we direct our focus money, available resources to look at an intersection. So I want there to be agreement among the elected officials where our focus should be. And so there's not any specific dollar amount tied to this. It's just telling us to focus on this area and get that done next.
Thanks for that clarification.
All right, motion to approve special events applications. So there were 4, none of them are new. These are all repeat events. The hot dog eating contest, the Marshall Square Park series of concert series, F4 chili cook-off, and the Westchester Green Team Porch Fest. The only thing that we did, yeah.
What was the decision on what to do with item 1?
We're putting it on consent.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay. Going back to number 2, the only thing that we just highlighted in the meeting was to make sure that all of these groups, especially some of the ones that are specifically using borough resources, that they make sure they budget appropriately, knowing that we made changes to our fees last year and we don't want to have any surprises after the event.
Hi,
But
Keith Karowski. Just have one item of note. The item A is actually 5/2/25, not 5/25. And then also just wanted to add that Jitters has contracted GFAC and we'll have an EMT on site.
Thank you. Actually, that was the other thing that came up, to make sure that nobody had a choking event that was unrecoverable. And so, because that would make for a not fun event. So.
I do have one question, Mr. McCoy, please, and Ms. Simone. The question I have is under the special events for C, for Chili Cook-Off. I thought I heard something that I wasn't sure what I heard about the splitting of the parking revenue with the Chili Cook-Off. You may have said that, Mr. Karowski, or I may have misheard that coming through the speaker system.
The revenue split is 50% of what we take in from the Chestnut Street garage, bicentennial garage, back to. That's what we get. That change.
Well, Miss Vaccaro, yeah, I know, her fuzzy feather thing just flipped around. We no longer do that. And I'll let Ms. Vaccaro highlight that. That's why we have a special events price. And I thought I heard that, but I wanted to clarify it at our meeting. That went bye-bye,
Ramsey,
including 50%.
can you clarify this?
Yeah, I was under the impression that when you guys changed the special event formula based on Barb's recommendation, that ended. But I did hear that last weekend, was also curious because I don't think I was actually at the special event fee meeting. So, but that was my understanding.
I did not know that ended.
So that is, I didn't quite hear that, but that was why it was so important, why I made special comment that we need to look at this year's fee schedule. So Keith, I think you need to look at this year's fee schedule if you're not quite aware of what changes we made last year too, so that you're not providing misinformation to the groups out there, and why we should have forecasts of what it's going to be for costs and things like that.
I'm just going to clarify that the bid and I were not aware that that was being taken away. I fought very hard to put that in place because that's really important to our various organizations that are running these activities. And that was extremely important to us. Taking that away is absolutely not my intention.
We didn't take that away.
I was under the impression that that was still in play. And if that's the mistake on my part, I apologize. But I thought that was part of the change in the scale of the fees from the police and the public works department were altered. But I thought the change, there was no change to the parking revenue split that was going back to the special event organizer.
There was a change regarding the price at the garage. Correct. And Barb could clarify this.
So in the new special event calculation fee, we agreed on $10 for each fee, and then a 50% reduction that would come off the bill for any of these applicants. So that is still in the calculation and has not been changed.
And the other point of clarification is that we're looking at it for the fees for a different event, mainly for the Christmas parade,
Correct.
and as well as when
And that
the
item,
garages
yes.
will be ticketed for that particular time, most likely earlier than later.
And I will say, I think where the confusion is coming in prior years, not only was there a 50% credit given for parking revenue, there was also 50% for staffing services. So that may be where there's this sort of confusion. But in the new fee that was approved this year, it's a 50% reduction in the parking revenue and then a $10 across the fee for the that's charged for the vehicles.
Do we think it makes sense that when we're doing these applications, just because we're all kind of like, we know we made changes and we're all kind of half remembering what we did, that we have that information attached when we talk about these events in the future, and again, have some kind of like forecast of what it might cost, the event holder for our support, just so we're not all half remembering, because I could have believed you, I could have believed you, I could have believed you. It might be good for us to have this available when we're looking at these things.
Yeah,
Or also for the benefit of the applicant as well. So again, going back to that, there's no surprises.
And I think just giving a calculation of what it be so it doesn't come as a surprise.
Yeah, okay.
Can I just ask, because I apologize, and I love a policy, but I think that the discussion about the special events was at the public safety meeting, and I was not there, which is why I didn't comment, which I'll go with what you say. But is this in a policy anywhere? Like, do I know, like what you were saying about memorializing it on the application, do we have this clarified anywhere as far as what the decision was other than minutes, or was it all in the minutes? Or did we write something?
I believe it's on the fee schedule, but I would say I'm 95% sure about that, but that's what it should be.
Okay. Keith and I were just saying, Keith suggested we work together on memorializing this, so we can do that as well.
All right, Barb. So did I have a senior moment, or we were not?
Most likely.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I always love you.
No, I mean, that was part of the
take a
whole
second
revising the
and
calculation is
to
to
me,
give.
so I understand. All right, say we're the Cello Festival, okay?
Yes.
All right. How does that get paid for?
So we revised the new rates. So it's $129 for police services and $69 for public works. So there's a slight increase in those rates, but we offset that with the 50% credit for the parking revenue. So we get that information. That's through the whole event application that Keith provides. That information is produced from the police department, and then we do our calculation based on how many hours we need for police and public works. And then depending on the reports that we get from Ramsey's office, we will reduce that parking revenue credit by 50%. And that's how it's calculated.
So any special events that we have parking garage revenue sharing, I was under the impression that went away, but I guess it did not.
No, that was the give back because we were increasing the rates for the staffing services that that was part of kind of, the compromise that we came up with, that for these events to go on, I think that we needed to offer that, and that was built into the calculation.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McGinnis.
Any other comments or questions? Public comments, questions? Okay, we'll move that to consent, please, and move on to the Smart Growth Committee.
Okay, motion to approve on-street cafe permit for Turk's Head Wines, Allison Owens. And this is to approve the installation of the dining platform, and the committee recommended 3-0 to go forth.
Comments, questions? Public comments? Move that to consent, please.
All right, motion to approve the 2025 Gay Street closure rules and regulations and include the Gay Street closure rules in the outdoor dining policy, which was also presented. So the bid and Ramsey are trying to kind of pull together all of that information into one document, and even they want to make improvements for next year as well. But this is the start, and we said sounds good, and they read off the rules, and we recommend 3-0.
Comments or questions? Public comments, questions? Okay, move that to consent, please.
Motion to approve letter of understanding with Delaware Valley Planning Commission to participate in the Sustainable Buildings Collaborative Energy Benchmarking Program. And this is like for us to get involved with them, helping us benchmark our energy usage. We kind of give them data, and they're going to give us recommendations and all sorts of good stuff. It sounds pretty cool. And I'm going to send my Pico bill over to Will, and he's going to look at my Pico bill as well. But yeah, otherwise, committee recommended 3-0.
Comments or questions? Public comments, questions? Okay, move that to consent.
Motion to schedule a public hearing on May 22nd, 2025 to approve an amendment to Chapter 97 to appoint a historic architect to review buildings in the HO 60 and HO 75 historic districts. And the idea is that when buildings are being presented, the Planning Commission realized that, if they're in a historic district, they don't have all the knowledge, and that we should have an architect looking at this. It may cost us a little extra money, but it could also save us a lot of headaches. And so we approved that 3-0.
Comments or questions? Public comments, questions? Okay, move that to consent, please.
All right, and then number 5, HARB certificates of appropriateness. There were 3, and we recommended for B and C, we needed to make sure that the sign was which sign we liked, because there were a couple in there, and there were signs we thought were ugly. So are confirmed?
It was the nice looking sign.
It was okay. So it's the nice looking sign is the sign. So that said, then we are good for approving these.
Comments or questions? Public comments, questions? Okay, move that to consent, please.
And number 6, discuss solicitor attendance for zoning appeal, 143 East Marshall Street. And we recommended no solicitor to attend this variance that was being asked for.
Just to clarify, Does this keep cutting out? Sorry. I did not have the zoning review from our zoning officer at the time that we discussed this, so I wanted to discuss with council fully here because I thought we needed more information. Sean and I did look at this property today. I'm not a zoning officer. Sean is much more qualified in that aspect, but there are two variance issues on this lot that you should consider. The first being that this is a non-conforming use and a non-conforming lot with a non-conforming building. So it's not to be enlarged, which is why it would need a variance. The second issue is the side yard, which is technically a front yard because it fronts on Matlack Street. They're asking for a variance from the setback, which would leave it 2.3 feet from the side of the road. So that's another consideration that you might want to send the solicitor to oppose.
Ramsey did a very nice job. This is a semi-detached building. It's a twin at the corner of North Matlack and East Marshall Streets. It's on the northwest corner. The house faces Marshall Street. So the side of the house that faces North Matlack Street kind of looks like a side yard. It's the side of the building. The hashed area on this site plan shows you where they plan to build an addition. I believe you said it was a powder room. So there's two issues that we need help from council on. And the one issue is, do you want to take a real strict stand on whether they should be able to build any addition whatsoever on this building? Because your code says very specifically when you have a non-conforming use, and this is a twin in a district where twins aren't allowed, you have a non-conforming lot. This lot is smaller than is the minimum required in the district, and a non-conforming building. The existing conditions of this building already intrude upon the setbacks. When you tick those three boxes, you're not allowed to add onto the building at all. The second issue is where they're proposing to add onto the building is towards Matlack Street. I'm just reiterating what Ramsey said, unfortunately. And the idea with a zoning variance is, one, the applicant can't create the need for the variance, and then the variance granted should provide the minimum permission necessary to do what they're asking to do. So you have an applicant here proposing to extend kind of into that side yard area towards North Matlack Street. So you have to decide if that's something you want to send Tom and the team to say, no, you can't do that. The building should be added onto in another way. Because the zoning hearing board, once they get this case, they can grant a variance to do the addition in the first place, and also attach reasonable conditions as to how that addition should be configured. And if you feel strongly about it not going towards North Matlack Street, you should send the solicitor.
Well, I'll be the first to comment, since this is 3 houses down from me. And perhaps I should recuse myself because they're friends. However, I mean, the fact that it's a non-conforming lot and use, I mean, the building was probably built in 1870 or something. So to say that it's a non-conforming, I get that that is technically true, but everything up there is a twin. And, you know, I don't put any, you know, whatever in that statement, because it is what it is. It's been there for, 140 years. I also think that the Matlack is not the front entrance. It is a side yard. So I personally have no problem with them coming in 2.5 feet. But that's me. I would hope that they would grant this variance. I know them. I know that's not going to be an ugly addition. I think it will fit in with the character of the existing house. Are there other comments, questions about this?
Yeah, Sean, now that we see the picture, and I was looking here on the, what do they actually want to do again? Because the picture's a lot easier than the
Perfectly.
foot plan.
Whoever is controlling the computer, can you scoot maybe 20 yards north on North Matlack and then focus back on the house? No, you're zooming. Move the no, move the camera. It,
Really then.
too far. Nope, you're zooming. Don't make me get up and use the mouse. Do you all see that addition? There, perfect. That addition on the rear of that house, I most assuredly wasn't original, just looking at it. And they want to rebuild that and project that piece of the property towards the camera in this image, add a deck and go away from make that space a little bit larger.
Coming 5 feet towards Matlack.
So they like almost want to take those bushes out that are there and make that a building? No, all right.
It's 5 feet.
Well,
Maybe you could
I
zoom in a
mean,
little bit.
Is there a patio?
hey, you want to call him? Okay, so you're saying the bushes would not be.
I don't know what the dimension is to the bushes, to be honest with you, but it's 5 feet. So basically the depth of that's probably an 8-foot deep space from the siding. So the window is probably a, 2.5, 3-foot window. It's got 2 feet or so on each side. So I'm guessing it's 2/3 of the length of that would come out towards the street.
And again, they want to tear this down, build it back up. I personally don't think we should send the solicitor to oppose. That's my opinion. The structure is already there.
They want to put 5 feet on the side of that German siding.
Do any of us want to send a solicitor?
Huh?
Do you want to send the solicitor?
No,
I don't want to send a solicitor.
no.
I think we're good.
How many, Brian and Nicole?
I don't want to send, but I'll be curious to see how this turns out because I conceptually am not quite getting it right now, but.
We
but
go
I don't
back to
need
the
to
plan.
I don't need to send a solicitor. No, we don't need to. No, we don't. Don't worry. Don't worry about me. I'm good.
Okay, I think we're consent not to send the solicitor. Okay, other business, discuss the 2024 workers' comp audit.
Yeah, thank you all for giving us a little bit of time to gather information. This came up last week under other business in the Act Committee. I sent a couple pieces of information by email to council and printed them out for you. One of them I'll refer to as the colorful document, this one. And the other one is the very minuscule document you're going to need glasses to read, and I forgot mine, so hold on a second. So quickly, just to reiterate how workers' comp insurance works and how premiums are determined, it's all about the payroll that's covered. And it's all about the riskiness of that occupation, that person who's getting paid those dollars under workers' comp. So the reason being is that there's 2 types of claims that come through workers' compensation insurance. It's the injury that happens in the workplace. So we pay 100% all the medical costs of somebody for all their care that happens as a result of a workplace injury. And that's different than what would be covered by our health insurance. If an employee is out for, I believe it's 7 days, 7 days, they can qualify for a wage loss claim. And that's when you start paying up to 2/3 of that employee's wages because they're missing work. And that's where workers' comp claims can really escalate and that's why it's so important to get people back to work effectively and quickly and to avoid the injury in the first place. If you look at the colorful chart, it's actually the more dangerous occupation by rate of injury isn't police officers. It's our public works, wastewater, and parking enforcement officers. So it's getting in and out of cars, it's lifting, it's working with tools, it's being in confined spaces that make you more prone to injury. The other thing that affects our bottom line rate is our experience. And we've done a pretty good job. Our experience modifier is 91%. That means we're a little less risky. We do a better job of managing risk in the organization than other local governments like us. So those are the factors that go into determining a premium. Do you have any questions on that? Okay. So the question then becomes, what have we been spending on workers' compensation insurance? What have we been budgeting? And what's the $92,000 check all about that's in the schedule of bills from March? Paying for workers' comp insurance is a little like taxes, and today's April 15th, no doubt. So you make estimated payments on what you think you're going to coverage you're going to need for the year. And then at the end of the year, you do an audit that reconciles what you've paid with what actual payroll you've covered. So you're reconciling what the estimate that you sent to the insurer to say we need $10 million of payroll covered with what you actually paid in that year. And when we did our most recent comparison of those two numbers, as you can see in the 2024 row in the small spreadsheet, we had a premium of $481,000. An audit result that resulted in $92,000 extra paid, so a total revised premium of $574. And we had an approved budget for that experience year of $599,000. So a little under budget at year's end. And the reason that we had that big adjustment, bigger than most years in the past, because we have had adjustments in the past, adjustments of 26, 35, and 42,000 in previous years, was that our payroll estimate was off target for the experience that we estimated we were going to have in 2024. We generate those payroll estimates in the late fall of the year prior to them being used, because they're sent to the insurer, and the insurer uses that information to develop a quote for next year. And that typically happens after we've probably been down the budget process, maybe 9 out of 10 steps. We don't get the final premium back from our workers' comp insurer until December, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So when we're budgeting for what we think we're going to spend on workers' compensation insurance, we're budgeting looking backwards, knowing what we spent in the prior year on the premiums, and knowing generally what workers' compensation insurance is doing year over year industry-wide. So Barb does that research. That's why we have a budget number that works for us the following year. A couple observations I have of this information once I've put it together on a sheet is we should always be putting this together on a sheet, because one thing really stands out to me real quick on this sheet, and that is the payroll estimated provided didn't change there between 2022 and 2023, right? That's not the years we're talking about with this $92,000 check. And it has been trailing total actual payroll. The gap between what we've totally actually paid and what we're estimating has been increasing. So we got to get our estimates better. And it's not a problem that just happened in the end of 2023. It's a problem that I see in this spreadsheet that's getting a little bit bigger. So we got to make sure the gap in what we're estimating, what we're actually going to spend, improves. I want that down to 5%. And it should make sense to you all, right? We have 128 employees. We're not adding. Well, 8 of them are council people, so I don't count them. We know that number's not changing a lot. We know there's raises that factor into that. We should be seeing a modest increase in the estimate provided, tracking the same way that the total actual payroll has been increasing year over year. That's my first suggestion for change here. My next suggestion for change is that we're working with our insurance provider to do a quarterly review and audit of premiums paid and payroll covered. And then we're going to start making payments every 90 days so we can kind of stay a little more in tune with where we need to be in the given year. So those are two things that came out of putting this all together on a sheet. In 2024, excuse me, in late 2023, when we gave the 2024 estimate, that number was 2.1 million less than the total actual of 2024. That gap's too big. And the reason was there's confusion on the inside on the admin as to what they were asking for, whether they were asking for 3 quarters worth of data or 4 quarters worth of data. So I got to get that message out and across to everybody that it's 4 quarters of data. We're going to put it on a screen. We're going to put it on a spreadsheet together. We're going to review it. We're going to make sure it smells right. Because I think if we had looked at this and gave it the sniff test, we would have seen that our numbers were a little bit off and we would have gone back to the drawing board. So that's my process improvement for this.
Congratulations. You're a Knights Templar for falling on the sword for mistakes within the organization. Thank you. We understand everything you gave us. I give you an A+ for workman's compensation dissertation. You understand that there's a problem and you're addressing it, which I appreciate that you took responsibility for that and you're straightening out the issue. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question.
Mhm.
The budget to actual variance column, where is that supposed to be a calculation off of the budget? Like I see the budget and then I'm assuming the revised premium due after audit is the actual, but the budget to actual variance doesn't agree to that. So I'm trying to understand what's in that budget to actual variance column. Up, here comes Barb.
So I did this calculation and what I was trying to show in that column is that when there's issues, when your actuals don't meet your estimates, that's going to have an impact on the next year's budget. So that's why it's not perfectly calculating that column right there. That was what I was trying to show in that column. So I realized that, when you take them, they don't subtract correctly. They don't tie out. But I was trying, that's why I have stars and triple stars, trying to show that because the estimates are provided in late fall and then the audit is done in, the winter time, and then you get the bill for additional premiums. I was trying to show that there's going to be an effect on the next year's budget. And that's what happened in this year. But we had enough built into our line item that it was covered. And that was what I was trying to show in that column.
And the
That makes
importance
sense.
column is the last one to get that to hopefully
Correct.
that's 0.
Yes.
But it, may not be. It was off significantly because it was only through 9 months.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Public comments, questions? Okay, thank you. We have one other item of business that I'd like to bring up. And John O'Brien, I know there was an item that didn't make the agenda. You're hoping to get approval tonight or tomorrow, so I'll let you cue it up.
Yes. Good evening, John O'Brien. I'm representing you here tonight as the chair of your Transportation Advisory Committee. So the council has tasked the committee with trying to address some of the transportation needs of the borough. So that is a very large mandate for us to try and, as a committee, to get our hands around. So our first consensus was really to do data collection on what the residents and those who frequent Westchester want to see us focus on, whether it's sidewalk connectivity, EV infrastructure, public transit, both train, bus routes, traffic calming measures, double parking of cars on Gay Street. All these kind of topics have come up, and trying to order which ones we should make recommendations on first. We got connected with the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, who put forth a proposal. They have a supporting communities program in conjunction with a group called Connect the Dots. They would do survey work for the borough, as well as set up a pop-up tents events. They could do door-to-door knocking. They could also host town halls to get input on what the residents want to see. And they especially have resources around getting communities that we might not hear from. They have ESL capabilities, which would be very interesting for us as well. They sent a proposal to Will Williams and myself and the rest of the committee. We looked over it. The big thing is this is free to sign up for. They sent us an 8-page memorandum of, or I guess, what would we call that? A letter of understanding, outlining what their proposal is. And then the last page documents that this is the value of the services that they'll provide, but that is free for the local municipality participating. We think this is a great opportunity, and we really would like to hit the ground running with this. So we're hoping not to wait till May's council meeting to get approval here, because we would like to actually start coming to with concrete ideas about how to improve some of the infrastructure in town. And this is kind of the jumping off point for that.
So it's fantastic, and you know, for $13,000 to $60,000 worth of free services.
I have a question. Do we get to help pick the questions, or like, how do we know what they're asking? Because I've read some of these and they're very pie in the sky, and they're pie in the sky.
Sure. So for me personally as chair, one of the attractions of working with an outside firm is they won't have a, let's say, skin in the game to put their thumb on the scale with the way questions are worded. And this isn't a comment on any current surveys that are going on, but you know, we all know that in a survey, you can get the answer you want by pushing or pulling people towards different answers. So we're trying to objectively approach that. They are going to work with Will, myself, and other members of the committee to kind of orient us around, or us to orient them around, what issues are being floated out there. And then they're going to create a strategy. So it's not simply a survey as well. They're going to do, like I said, pop-up events. If we can direct them to like different, you know, neighborhoods within the borough, which maybe we feel like we don't get great response for, to organize some more door-to-door walking campaigns, just have conversations with people. That's another option as well. So there's going to be a lot of input that we're going to put into it, but we're not planning on directly dictating a question to them outside of saying, these are, you know, some of our questions around the topics that we want to get answered. Like, I know we've had a lot of conversation about the train. So if we wanted to address, you know, ridership and, you know, where residents are on that, that can be part of that. For sidewalks, trying to understand, you know, there's a lot of gaps within our sidewalk network in town, but maybe some places it's not as much of a focus. If you're, you know, more by Marshall Square Park and kind of northern there's a lot of missing sidewalks, or, you know, in the second ward, there's specifically where you're going along sidewalks and then there's a missing space. So trying to identify where those are and where the priorities are for people. But we're going to have a lot of input, and we'll serve as the staff person for the borough as we have those conversations.
Okay, so you'll have some oversight at least, so that they're not just putting stuff out there.
We'll have a lot of oversight.
Saying like,
they had emailed Will and I today about meeting for like a 30-minute conversation just to discuss the next steps of how to get rolling. So they're excited to get rolling as well. We would like to, especially with the summer months with events going on, get them engaged now so that we can, you know, as a committee, we don't want to focus on just being a committee that talks about things. We want to provide solutions to actually get implementation done and move at a good clip, so that we're not here, you know, several years down the line just saying we're working on it. And that's, I don't mean that as a shot at any particular thing. It's just, that's the philosophy. We have had those conversations internally as a committee.
Yeah, so a couple other things. We got a bus report from Westchester University, and I think it would be, you should be able to get it. I think Patty's on your
Yeah,
committee.
Patty wanted to wait to present in May to the committee. We'll have to and it'll either end up being May and June. We have several members that are missing the May meeting. My wife's also due with our second born on the night, which is also why you heard a lot from me today. I was trying to front load some things. But we're offline. We want to have this conversation with getting the survey information done.
Okay, so that's good. And then there was one other thing. I can't remember the other thing.
John, while you're thinking, the university, when they first started their shuttle bus around town, moving students and professors and everything else, they told us that once they figured out all the kinks in the road, they would come to us and allow residents to use that service. When we inquired about it about a year and a half ago, they said that's not a possibility because of insurance concerns. That's pretty much, what senior citizens are trying to do is get from, down by Mitch's gym over to, the Wendy's, to get across town, to be able to move around instead of trying to walk or do Ubers and stuff like that. Is that some of the focus?
That's
The university to help out?
We initially created a long list of different items to talk. That was one of them. Another one that we talked about was trail connectivity. Westchester's not connected to any recreational trails. Like I said, we created a laundry list of different things. Now it's just trying to see what folks want us to focus on. And while, you have the committee for a reason, obviously everybody that has volunteered for that is already probably somewhat super involved and already comes to the table with a certain passion for this project or that. One of our goals with this Connecting the Dots program is trying to get the voices from those who aren't as engaged and we don't hear from as frequently to make sure that what we're thinking about aligns with what they're thinking about.
Excellent. So, do you have another comment? Okay. So the motion that we're going to make is to sign the MOU?
To just approve the letter of understanding. I think, Sean, you would probably technically sign it. I'm not sure, but
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But that would be the ask.
I assume, is everyone good with that? We'll put that on consent.
Okay.
Any public comments? All right. Thank you. And we are adjourned at 8:52. Thank you.